Guns are a big part of our culture in America.
I feel like America is infatuated with guns.
Go ahead, make my day.
I would describe our relationship with guns as one that's unlike any other in any other country around the world.
People feel like guns give them power, to give them some type of higher up.
A girl in our group coined the term lockdown generation. No other generation has had this fear. We've dealt with it our whole lives.
I feel sort of defensive about it, that I own guns. I'm like, hey, I'm not doing this stuff. What about the responsible, middle of the road people?
We're the next generation that's gonna kind of take over everything. To listen to what we think should happen next is important, because that's the only way for us all to grow as a country.
Attention all units in District 15, possible shots fired at 5901 Pine Island Road at Stoneman Douglas High School.
We begin our program with broken hearts in yet another American
Reports
town.
of a shooting with multiple injuries at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School.
There's no words to describe how I feel right now.
I lost 8 friends.
I want this to be the last mass
Another
shooting.
very sad day in America.
So what do everyday Americans think?
Do not make the failure of the epic report.
When I saw it on TV, it really scared me that I would just move on with my life after something that tragic happened. 17 people's lives were taken. And then 2 days later, I turned on the TV again and I saw Emma Gonzalez.
If you don't study, you will fail. And in this case, if you actively do nothing, people continually end up dead. So it's time to start doing something.
So my sister and I were like, we're gonna do something about it this time. We started a group called Helena Youth Against Gun Violence, and so we planned a school walkout, a March for Our Lives on March 24th, and we've continued to be pretty active in the community since then.
After the Parkland shooting, the media, they made it seem like every youth in this country we know was in support of gun control.
Enough is enough.
It's not just about Stoneman Douglas, it's about every school.
And that's just kind of where I stepped up and kind of just said, no, we have a voice.
Let's remember why we are here today. We are here to advocate for the Second Amendment and the millions of responsible gun owners in the United States.
In the next couple weeks, I plan on getting my concealed carrier's permit. If you would ask me a year ago if I was going to be a pro-gun advocate, I would have said, no. I want to maybe, run for a local office here in the state. It feels good, to be a part of something.
Simmers County 911, Jimmy, police, fire, and medical.
I was just shot at my school.
I'm sorry?
I was just shot at my
school.
This
is an NBC News special report.
High school on lockdown after yet another school shooting.
Two students have been hit.
Potential mass shooting was halted when an armed school resource officer
potentially
confronted
saved a great number of lives.
4 days before the National March for Our
Lives.
We are not trying to take your guns.
Anti-gun, anti-freedom narrative.
Conspiracy content.
Crisis actor. Right-wing conspiracy theory.
All the adults are like, well, there's no point in you doing this. This is dumb. You don't have a say. It's not to prove people wrong. It's for change. My cousin, who's really close to me, a while ago was in a school shooting, and she still has medical problems from what happened. It's just really important for me today to do things that she can and speak for the people who can't.
I'm dedicating my energy and my youth and my future to be an activist for gun violence, because I don't want anyone to experience what I had to go through. Sadly, I'm going to be scarred, and I still wake up to gunshots and screaming, and it's going to be a process. This is the start of an evolution, a start of change, because we're the generation of change.
I feel sort of defensive about it, that I own guns. I'm like, hey, like, I'm not doing this stuff. What about the responsible, middle of the road people? If you get there before the woods are awake, like all the mist and the fog and everything, and the birds just start chirping and stuff, I don't know, there's a peace. Like, that's one way I see God the most, is when I'm out in the woods like that. Granddaddy Jimmy, he's an awesome guy to me. So just knowing that he's done stuff with this gun and he's hunted deer with this gun before. We weren't really as close as we are now. Once I started hunting and shooting and stuff, that's something that he liked to do. So he was like, I want to pass this down to him. He's kind of the old man I want to be. My ideal life would be wear buckskin, just hunt everything I need, live with the land. But I don't think that's gonna happen. So go start a real life, get a job and everything, and then keep hunting as my own little, that's my place.
My parents are from China, and the only people there who have guns are the government. We'd be watching action movies and we'd say, oh, well, that's a cool gun. And my dad would just mention to me, it's like, oh, well, you can own guns in this country. You know, I like shooting guns. I think it's fun. It's a very delicate, intricate system, but at the same time, it has to stand up to all these crazy high tolerances. And I think it's really cool to see that machining in action. Every time there's mass shooting in this country, it's on the news for, weeks and months. What's happened is, we have social media and all this stuff, and that's given voice to a lot of teenagers that wouldn't necessarily have had that voice in the past. And I'm not trying to make light of this or anything, but mass shootings statistically are fairly rare, but there's sort of an obligation to comment on it because, the internet's there and you're supposed to comment on everything, right?
Guns are a big part of our culture. I do think there needs to be some forms of gun control, and I realize there's a problem and it needs to be fixed somehow. But there's so much focus in the media on just the negative aspects of it that people never really see the good parts of it. I don't think we have good enough gun safety classes in America because we were never allowed to use Nerf guns or anything because we had real guns in the house. So I've never really had the mindset of shooting people or shooting anything but birds and clay targets. It sounds weird when I say it, but I do kind of have this connection to my shotgun, and I think it's really cool, and it's kind of my baby. I named it Priscilla. There's nothing better than the smell of a shotgun, except maybe jam. But I don't know, it just smells like home. I don't know. I'm still a girly girl. I have my pink, and I load shotgun shells with glitter, in with the shot, so when you shoot, glitter kind of comes out, and it looks really cool.
Parmesan car, especially 531, 510, 52, Falcon 3, Waffle House, 816.
And breaking news out of Antioch, Tennessee.
Deadly shooting spree at a restaurant.
More people could have died had a hero not stepped in.
The hero did not have a gun.
If he had a gun and could have
took this opportunity to bring up gun control.
Politicizing this event.
Comprehensive gun reform.
Left comes up with
These things have been happening every day in poor communities and communities of color that are disproportionately affected by this. And now that it's a bunch of rich white kids that have been shot, it's oh my God, we have to end this. And I think it's important that we use the spotlight that the media gives us to shine that on different communities and let them speak for what has been going on there for way longer.
Chicago has been facing gun violence for a long time, and every time we tried to talk about it, it acted like it was never heard. I've been shot at more times than I can count. If I'm not really getting a ride, I don't want to go outside because it's a high chance that I might get shot. Every other house on my block has a gun. It's to the point where we can walk outside and hear shots and continue walking. Chicago alone got some of the strictest gun laws ever, but what does that mean when you can go to Indiana and get a gun in less than 30 minutes?
When people ask me, do I feel safe at school or at home, I can't answer it. I don't feel safe no type of way. Teens on Target is a program that helps mentor young kids to stop picking up guns.
We don't want them to
be in violent situations. So we go around talking to kids and young adults about the violence in y'all own backyard. Like, I like guns. I'm not finna lie. I'm not finna sugarcoat it. But if I have a gun, it's just for my protection. My uncle was shot by a gun. My cousin was shot by a gun. I had multiple family members killed by weapons. But it's still not gonna change my perspective, because if you got a gun, I'm gonna want a gun too, because I'm not finna let you take my life.
I wish people understand what I go through, what my friends go through. Something happens every single day. You can never have a perfect day.
Because I know that, like, I can get shot, and because I've been shot at multiple times, I don't really go outside a lot. Walking these streets, these the same streets that my family members passed or my friends passed away in. It's horrible that I have to live that over and over again. It gets emotional a lot and depressing. Definitely depressing. Us being heard definitely changed after Parkland, because it's not just like African American or people of color, it's like white students as well. I feel this kind of empowerment and unity in it. The youth leading things to bring about change is this amazing thing, because we see now how passionate young people can be.
Thanks, anybody, to be for Santa Fe High School needs to stage school shooting, have an active shooter, several people down.
It has happened again.
Another school shooting.
Multiple fatalities. We've done this way too many times.
Cultural violence.
Politicization.
We need children should not be any kids in this country are going to let get murdered.
I've always kind of felt like eventually it was going to happen here too.
I kind of want to live this honorable life of serving others. My mom, she deployed about 3 times. I believe Iraq and Afghanistan. She was out there kind of risking her life, trying to serve her country in the best way possible. I wanted to kind of live in that legacy. When I go to school, I don't generally think about, the school shootings too much. It's very tragic to have these students pass away, but I try to be a little bit more, open-minded. Our founding fathers put the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights for a reason, and it was to protect ourselves. If anything, went down south, weapons should stay, with the citizens.
I personally haven't had many negative experiences with firearms, so understandably, my outlook would be different than someone who's been involved in a school shooting. I'm sure that's a very traumatic experience. A lot of my friends know about firearms because it's just part of the general culture of this area. There's firearms in nearly every house. However, they aren't trained and as well versed as I would say Jasmine and I are.
Today, my grandfather took us through a military tactical training route. He was a Green Beret, Special Forces in the Army. I grew up with the survivalism mentality.
Especially in Florida, say there's a tornado and you just need to leave, it'll get chaotic very quickly. It's good to have that preparation, that skill set there.
I think that everyone should know how to defend themselves if the time came to it, especially girls. I mean, we're targets all the time. Knowing how to take care of yourself, that's what survivalism is for me, staying alive.
It is like a little badass, I guess, to be able to be like, yeah, I'm a girl and I can shoot, like, don't test me. But I definitely think for self-defense as a woman, guns are important. I live in Seneca Falls, which is the birthplace of women's rights. When we had like the women's marches back when Trump was inaugurated. It was super cool to be able to march in my own town and know that we have the right to vote and we have all these things, but there's still room for improvement. Part of the problem why this is such like a hard topic to address is because it is so like polar opposite opinions. I think it is a very unique position for me to be in, to have handled guns, but also to be like, well, we could make some changes. I kind of feel like if you don't have direct experience with guns, you shouldn't have such like a big opinion about it because you've never actually like experienced what it's like to like handle a gun.
My brother was like the shiny one, the person that people like sort of gravitated towards. He was a team captain on the track team. He was a youth council member. He was running for student president. Everywhere I went, he went. Like if he wasn't with me, someone would ask me like, "Where's your twin?" On September 20th, and about 8 o'clock, Zaire was walking home. 30 minutes later, he wasn't responding. I texted Lauren, his girlfriend, and I asked, "Where's Zaire?" She was like, "Well, his location says that he's like a couple feet from your house." I immediately ran upstairs, looked out the window to see if he was there. I saw just like a bunch of red and blue flashing lights. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what happened. But a man with the ankle monitor obtained a gun illegally, and he attempted to rob Zaire and shot him. That night, I just felt like, I don't know, it's just like the worst feeling you could ever get. It's like having your heart broken, but like times 10. I think the first thing I said was like, but like, he's my twin, we're supposed to be twins for life. And my mom was like, I don't know how to describe it. I didn't really want to speak to media, share my story or anything for a long time until I saw the students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas speaking out and demanding change. That really just like inspired me. School shootings are like covered a lot, and like shootings every day aren't really covered a lot because people start to think, oh, they're used to it, that's just a bad neighborhood. We're not used to it, and the person wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. My brother was walking home for academic mentoring program. Our generation, we're just sick of it. We've seen too many shootings, we've seen too many deaths, and too many of our classmates dying. A lot of my peers and other student activists all out there because they aren't giving up fighting, and they have hope. For them to have hope, it makes me have hope. For graduation, I'm really not that excited. The only reason why I'm looking forward to graduation is because my brother isn't there, and I want to accept his diploma.
I am so excited. I've been ready to graduate for so long. It's amazing to me. I am so happy. I can't wait to change stuff in the world.
My generation is all kind of feisty and we're like ready to get things rolling.
I get a fresh start. I got a new life. I'm going to Vegas. I want to see more and I want to do better. I want my family out of Oakland, to be honest.
Maybe I don't totally agree with the stigma set around guns, but I think it's really cool that students are being able to make change.
I truly believe that what I'm doing and what all of us are doing really has changed the rhetoric of the country, and I believe we can change the laws of our country.
Oh, I definitely feel like my vote is going to get counted, and I'm really excited to be able to vote.
We do have a say because this is our world and we're going to be living in it.
I don't want, these shootings to keep happening. I just really don't know what the resolution's going to be,
I present to you the graduating class of 2018.
It's my great pleasure to recognize this graduating class of 2018.
Officially present the class of 2018 graduation.
Right to left. One along to another, congratulations.
All it takes is that one person. So with Parkland and those kids actually getting up and talking about it, people were listening. Now we got everybody else standing up. I got something to say now. I got something to say. This generation is the generation that did that. Just got up and, hey, I have something to talk about if you're willing to listen.